What's up, everybody? Giselle here bringing the brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the meta and actually the ingenuity that is going into this meta. Now, we all know that this meta is kind of not defined yet, but I still believe that this meta is going to be one of the worst. I think in recent years. Not because the three decks are particularly bad or anything, it's the fact that they're repetitive. Now, generally speaking, the best decks that are currently in the meta right now are obviously Burning Abyss, Monarchs, and Cosmos. But beyond popular belief, Perform Pals, and I guess to an extent Magicians, aren't necessarily dead. Sure, Wisdom Eye hurt Magicians. Not having more than one Skull Crobat definitely hurt the deck, but the deck isn't dead. Not yet. I mean, they have to do a lot of things I think to kill this deck. Consider the fact that the other support that is coming out, the Odd Eye stuff, the Unicorn that is supposed to be coming out relatively soon, and Shiv, I think, is pretty good. So I think that Perform Pals are definitely far from being dead. Additionally, I feel as though that Perform Pals still have a very good matchup against Burning Abyss. So, and Burning Abyss is currently in the slated as the top runner, in my opinion. Because Burning Abyss is currently the most consistent deck as of right now. So, if anything, Burning Abyss is kind of making Perform Pals slightly better. Additionally, however, that means Monarchs are still pretty good, because Monarchs countered Perform Pals relatively easily with Domain and all of that stuff. So I feel as though that because of that, Monarchs are a very, very good matchup. Have a very good matchups against Perform Pals still. The deck isn't current. The deck is still fairly, very, very good. In fact, I think this list probably made them a little bit better with Allure of Darkness going to 2. They lost 2 upstarts, but they can just simply replace those upstarts with Allure of Darkness instead, and just sack off Erebuses that they can then recycle regardless. So either way, Monarchs is still a very, very good deck. That leaves a fault in Monarchs as well, is where Cosmos has a semi-decent matchup against Monarchs, because despite the fact that they can distribute off the ships anyway, I feel as though that Cosmos have a very easier matchup against it, because they could just simply retract their Dark Destroyer into a Slip Rider, so you have to sacrifice the Slip Rider, or you basically just lose the value out of Stormforth. Additionally, they have ways around Domain, they have ways around all your other cards, and additionally, just general giant beatstick 3000 attack monsters that can't be targeted by card effects is really good. But where does that will leave Mermels? Actually, Mermels is kind of, they're a good deck, I think, but they're not consistent enough to be in the top 4. Like if the rest of these decks right here were tier 1, if these decks were tier 1, then this would be a tier 1. It would be 1.5. That's how I see it. Additionally, we have other decks coming into the fray that I think that I think might shift the tide of the meta, even just a little, even just slightly, and that is Blue Eyes and Amorphages. First of all, Amorphages are basically walking floodgates. All of them are floodgates. That's what they do. Neither player can special summon monsters from their extra deck. That's basically Domain. So Irritum is probably going to be played in most decks. Additionally, additionally, Iridium is also a walking Macrocosmos. I actually haven't looked into this archetype all that much, as you can see, because I just paused just to read this card's effect. But and another deck that might actually shift the meta slightly, and it's not even dependent on any factors. I think is Blue Eyes. Honestly, not to mention they could also run Domain and Stormforth if they wanted to. They could probably still go into the extra deck. I'm just real quick making sure. Domain of the True Monarchs. Oh no, you have to have no extra deck cards. But regardless, it's still there. Stormforth is still there. But I feel as though that Blue Eyes will make a big enough impact. Sorry, Amazons of the Sea is not meta. I mean, Rescue Rabbit exists, but not good enough yet. But Blue Eyes, I think, is a very good contender, considering the fact that I think they're getting a bunch of a new fusion that lets them. I think it's attack twice. I'm not actually sure. I should have looked this up beforehand, but this is a learning experience. So, also, we're getting this card. This card's pretty good, and we're also getting new priests, like Whitestone stuff and all that stuff. We're also getting this card. This card's freaking retarded, and this card's pretty good too. Yeah, this card's pretty good, and this card's absolute retarded. This card's pretty good. This card's still good. Cards of Consonance, draw 2 cards, still pretty broken. This card's still good, I think. This card's pretty good, and general support is general support. So I think that this deck is a very very good contender of shifting things into the forefront. Also, they're getting this thing, which is really cool. So. But regardless of that, I think that this card is, or that this deck in general, is very good. It's doing relatively well in the OCG, but then again, they don't have Cosmos, and they don't have the level of Burning Abyss that we do. Burning Abyss are completely neutered in that deck, or in that format, excuse me. But I feel as though that Blue Eyes still has a chance to make it. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Additionally, we have a few tier 2 decks that might give the rest of the other 4 decks a run for their money. And the first one is Shiranui. First of all, Shiranui does lose to Monarchs, but generally, if they do make a board first turn, then this card's not going to be then Domain's basically useless. You just basically gotta dodge around Stormforth, and that's basically it. And in most cases, if they have to Stormforth away your monsters just to get rid of it, then you probably already did pretty well for yourself anyway. Beals is still a pretty good card. The Shiranui zombie support stuff is pretty good. Unizombie is a fantastic card. Sword Style pretty much deals with Domain and the Monarch itself. So I feel as though the Shiranuis do have a very good contender of combating the meta, but not being necessarily tier 1. Next is Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights, pure Phantom Knights. I'm not talking about the Burning Abyss variant, but Phantom Knights in general, I think by themselves are very good as a very good deck. Break Sword is a fantastic card. Again, kind of has an inherent weakness to Monarchs, but I mean, honestly, if you could pull out your board fast enough, and additionally, the grind game for this deck is really really good. If you can grind it out and you can find a way to destroy your opponent's domain with Twin Twister and other things like that, then you're pretty much set for the rest of the game. Again, the Cosmos might be a slight problem, although the fact that they can kind of match Break Sword to Dark Destroyer in the way of attack is pretty interesting, because all they need to do is just ram into it and then just cycle out from there. Additionally, the deck can be really out of control with 3 Dantes still, because Dante is still pretty good in that deck. So, and lastly, this is not even personal bias, actually. It kind of slightly is, but it's not, and that is Psy-Frames. Despite them not actually even getting new support, I think this deck is always going to be a solid deck. It's always going to be a solid tier 2 deck, at least in the solid tier 2 to tier 1.5 deck. It's always going to be that way. And the reason why I say this is because they don't really care about Domain. They really don't care about your Cosmo Dark Destroyer. They don't really care about your Dante. I mean, they don't even care if it even gets its effect. And they really don't care. They slightly care about your pendulum boards because pendulums are inherently good against Psy-Frames because they can stop that one summon, but they can't stop because they can't inherently stop summons. That's basically what it is. They can't inherently stop summons. Alpha isn't good enough for that. Alpha is just a clean for Scout, which is still pretty good. Additionally, Omega is a fantastic card. Psy-Frames have access to the best rank level 8 synchros and level 7 synchros in the game, like Black Rose Dragon, which does deal with the pendulum stuff, which does deal with the Cosmo stuff. They have access to Scar Right, which is still a fantastic card. Scrap Dragon's a fantastic card still, even though it targets, which isn't very good in this format, but still is very good. Very good. Stardust Spark Dragon is still immensely popular. It's still an immensely good card. So I feel it's like Psy-Frames have a very good contender to being tier 2, at least tier 1.5. And in the worst case scenario, they just revert back to their tier 2 status and just be a sleeper deck like they have been for the past 6 months. But another deck that is slightly considerable is Yosenju, considering the fact that Rippling Mirror Force is also coming out, which also benefits Psy-Frames. But having the ability to wipe the board of Cosmo cards and not trigger them is pretty good. I think that Psy-Frames are probably going to main deck 3 Rippling Mirror Force at the start, then cut it to 2, just to deal with those Cosmo matchups. And even then, you probably don't even need to worry about that. It's kind of the Pendulum Masters that they have to worry about. So, but additionally, I think that all around this format's going to be not the greatest. However, if we squeeze the tier 2 decks out of if we squeeze the potential that we can out of the tier 2 decks, this format might actually be bearable. If we can squeeze the potential out of the Blue Eyes, out of Amorphages, out of Atlanteans, out of Sharinui, out of Phantom Knights, out of Psy-Frames, this format can be kind of tolerable. So anyway, tell me what you guys think about this, and I will see you guys in the next video. This has been Jonathan, and I am signing out.